join the family. My mic is dropping in and out. Thanks to Nick and Clem for hosting the first session, and welcome to all the candidates and the audience. BRN is a local network of people. We live, work and play in Brunswick. Their leaflets at the back. We're not affiliated to any political party and we don't endorse candidates. Each election we've held these meetings. We do think it's important to have the opportunity to hear from candidates who seek to represent us. For the first time this election we'll have 4 councillors south of Moreland Road, not 3. But there also will be a single candidate for each ward, replacing the previous system of 3 councillors for the South Ward. So can you hear me? We have 5 candidates running for Bulleke-Bek. We have Mel Yuan, who is independent, is that correct? We have Louisa Bassini from Victorian Socialists. We have Owen Miller of the Fusion Party. We have Iwasaki of Iwasaki, sorry, I actually changed it and then got it wrong. So, of Greens, sorry Jay. Helen Breier from Labour. So the format is we're going to launch straight into 3-minute introductions of yourselves. And Nick at the front will give you a 1-minute warning of 2/3 of the way through. And we're going to start in the order of the ballot. So we have Mel to start. Do you want to pass that one of the microphone down? And we'll start with Mel.
I brought cloths. Nick, would you do the take one and pass it on kind of arrangement? Or maybe you'll friendly help you next to the take one. Thanks everyone. My name is Mel Yuan, and please take brochure. Urban greening is my special subject, so if I get onto that later, that would be super. But for tonight, I only have 3 points. The first point I wanted to touch on is actually about the format of these elections. It's actually a really sad set of local government elections in Victoria. Moving to single-member wards has one outcome, and that one outcome is to stifle the influence of minor parties and independents in local government. The state government will hand local democracy over to the major parties. It's a great loss to Merri-bek. Sue Bolton was here, I'm not sure she's gone already. It'll be a great loss to Merri-bek if candidates like Sue Bolton can't hold on to her single-member ward. We've had other candidates elected in positions at 2, 3 and 4 for the multi-member wards who contributed greatly. And although Greens Party members in the audience might celebrate the very likely outcome of 4 Greens in Brunswick, sorry Lambros has served our community well. What's happening about the rest of Victoria? Have a look north, further north, east, west, into the country. So this is what's going to happen in Brunswick, what's going to happen in the rest of Victoria. And this was implemented almost unchallenged. It's very sad for today's local government. Many candidates would just say, why bother? And so if you can't pull yourself forward or play a role in any prospect of success in local government, where can you? My second point is one about mayoralty. It's been a useful function to have Labor and Greens share the mayoralty. Share it around fairly, reduces dissent, gives everyone a chance to have their face at the front of an annual report a couple of times a year, and increases their chances of re-election. However, we need a mayor for 3 years to return to council. We need to have our community voice consistently represented in governance, and we also need a very strong representation to state government. I think I'd wanted to end with my 1 minute, I'm going to time myself, about our changing political landscape. If I was a betting woman, and I am, the next federal election will see a 1-term Labor government turfed out. We also, in the middle of the next term of government, have a state election due. I would guess that that's going to be an incoming Liberal coalition government, which is going to be a big trashing of the big build agenda. This council does not have a good relationship with the current state government. Imagine what the next one's going to be. We've already seen the impact in Brunswick. Primary schools in the last state election cycle in the West got funded, because they still have Labor boos. Brunswick East Primary didn't get their toilets, because they're about the safest green improvements you can get in this country. Marginal Northcote got tram stops. Marginal Northcote got funding for Westgarth Primary. I think we're going to be very much out in the cold in the next term of government, and I think we need to be a bit more sensible about our policy positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
I might speak, if that's okay. Hi, I'm Louisa. I'm initially from Melbourne, raised in Queensland, have come back to Brunswick where I was born, and I'm raising my kids here. My girl plays footy at this club here, and I coach my boys' basketball team. And I feel like local government that was previously pretty boring in my eyes has kind of taken on a new interest in me, given that I'm putting down roots and actually really want to see this community thrive. My work is as a community lawyer in renting rights, and so day to day I see kind of, the depth of the severity of the housing crisis. And I'm also engaged day to day in challenging the state government in its abysmal housing policy. So I feel like those skills are ones that I can bring to getting on the council. And it's not just about the skills, it's about the principles and the commitment to a more fair and just society. Vic Socialists is campaigning around housing. This is very important to us, and also things like the question of Palestine. I mean, the policies that probably all of the candidates will talk about and have similar positions on, I think, are often common sense ones. But in terms of actually making those policies a reality, then what we need is a council that can actually be a voice to community campaigns. And I feel like the Palestine situation is an example of that. And I think my role and my track record in this last year has been a good one in terms of being a rank and file union activist. I've been asked to speak at the protest coming up on the 6th of October. And those sorts of community campaigns for us are what will actually be the difference in terms of people shaping the community that we want to live in, and doing that in collaboration with the local council. Thanks.
Would you like to go?
Sure. Hi everyone, thanks neighbours for coming. It's important to be involved, and thank you for the organisers for setting this up. I became, my name's Owen. I became politically active in probably 2019, 2020. I was living in the US at the time. I lived in the US for 7 years. I am a software engineer by trade. I've worked in Amazon, I've worked at startups. I've created my own startup. I guess it didn't take off, hence why I'm not living on an island. But how good's Brunswick anyway? But anyway, in all seriousness, after so many years living in different cities, seeing the way the world works, it helped me, better be able to see the forest for the trees. And I guess, the world is ours to shape. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to have all the problems that we're experiencing. And, I could see what was happening back in Australia. We say that we love innovation. David Uniacon on the $50 note. He's got the mechanised shears right next to him, his famous invention. And, what has happened to Australia? We keep having all these elections where we don't actually have a say in how our entire society is run. It's just our geographical society. Our online life is dictated to us by American companies. And, if we look at the parties in Australia, federally, but locally as well, it's all very well to talk about, housing, for instance, and I should mention, I am a progressive myself. I believe in universal basic income, decriminalising or legalising lots of drugs. And so, I'm a very progressive person. But I guess as well, there's so much more we can aim for. If we think of the technology, for instance, what if we had residents being part of creating the technology that powers the government and powers our society? We're talking not just, makerspaces, but, open source software movements to power all levels of government. We can share that internationally so that, anywhere in the world can get away from their corrupt dictatorships and move towards the sort of governments we would be proud of Ladies and gentlemen, let's make this happen in Brunswick. Let's aim bigger for ourselves.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Iwasaki. I have a PhD in ecology and have spent the last decade working to protect wildlife and improve food security in Australia. I've mostly studied bee conservation and how protecting our native pollinators can benefit agriculture. I've also taught students and regularly give presentations on our research to colleagues and public. My passion has always been protecting the things that are the most vulnerable and trying to make the world a more sustainable and livable place. I started my career in 2010, and since then I've been involved with projects at Harvard University, the University of Otago in New Zealand, ANU, the University of Adelaide, and now here at the University of Melbourne. Locally, I also serve on the board of management at Friends of Aileu, Melbourne, where I've been active in sustainable cities and act on climate collectives, as well as a presenter on 3CR Community Radio. Sustainable Cities works to expand public transport in the West and put accessible tram stops on Sydney Road. Act on Climate is a grassroots group building climate resilience in communities across Victoria. And a few years ago, I was also on the National Task Force, managing the burrow mite incursion in New South Wales, a critical biosecurity issue for our honeybee populations. I'm running for council because I feel like I've been watching from the sidelines while publishing papers with conservation recommendations that simply pile up unnoticed. I'm a collaborative person by nature, and will be a pragmatic voice with professional knowledge in how to build local resilience against climate change, enhance our green spaces, and promote urban pollinators. As someone who's rented for 17 years and is now a first-time apartment buyer, I understand the housing issues people are facing firsthand. On council, I will advocate for high-quality community-oriented developments with affordable housing to reduce cost of living. Greens on council and in state parliament have had recent successes, such as with the new developments near Brunswick Station, and winning the ability of council to regulate short-stay accommodation in private residences like Airbnb. I commute mostly by cycling, and I want to improve active transport options for both children and adults. I think that a community starts with streets that are made for people, not just for cars. But as a carer for my 9-year-old father who is in aged care, I do understand the issues that our older residents face and accessibility that requires driving, as well as many other issues that council can support with that I've learned in the last couple of years. I also regularly ride the Upfield line and want to continue the work Greens on Council have made in advocating for what the community needs in regards to train frequency, level crossing removals, now scheduled for 2030, and revitalizing Sydney Road. Lastly, I'd like to help Merri-bek Council set an example of how local government could be with increased efficiency and transparency. And as someone new to politics, my guiding principle is to be the kind of representative for you that I would want for myself. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thanks to the organisers for tonight, and also lovely to meet fellow candidates. This is my second time running. First time running was during COVID, so it was a very different experience. I was sitting behind a screen doing Zooms. We still did some letterboxing. There was a bit of controversy over whether we could or not, but somehow we did. And look, I really enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed connecting with the community, even though I was a little bit more remote, and also working together with the camaraderie with all the other candidates, with my own party, but also with everyone. It was just a fantastic experience. I had no regrets about it, even though I wasn't elected. This time round, I'm really enjoying it again. It's just been great to connect. I've been out and about in the community a lot, and it's really been good fun. So I'm a local resident. Yes, I've been here forever. I don't even want to say how many years. I've been on just about every committee there could be, from kinder to all the different sporting clubs, etc. I've been integral in a lot of them. As I mentioned earlier, years ago the world's really changed around here in terms of sport. Much more inclusive of gender, and what I'm really happy about, of ability. So, you know, and I just think that's wonderful, especially where we have unfortunately a very two-tiered society here in Australia, where the private schools, I'm getting off track here a bit, really dominate in sport and community sport is so important for everybody. It's such an inclusive atmosphere. So we've been very, very involved, my family, in community sport. In fact, the netball court's just here. I was very involved with getting those established, and that was where we had a lot less women represented in sport. My career has intersected between education and the finance industry. I am a qualified registered financial advisor, financial planner, but I don't really work as such. I work for a big industry super fund, UniSuper, and I really enjoy that. I work part-time. It means that I'm always connected with people and where they're at. Very connected, I think, at the grassroots. I'm analytical. I'm extremely non-judgmental, and I think one of the most important things for a representative, as they are single-member wards, which has pros and cons, is that I am contactable. I'm real and I'm contactable. I am guided by community concerns, and I have been really enjoying the contact over the last few months with the community and about, the big issues and the main issues that seem to be concerning people. They seem to be a lot around traffic, safety, sports and services. Anyway, we'll talk more about that when we have questions. Thank you.
Before we go out to the audience, BRN usually has a couple of questions. Nick came up with the last one, and I just sort of have come up with a quick one. So the two issues that bite BRN is we hear from a lot of residents about rat running, but we've had a bit of that in the last meeting, so we want to talk about rat running and road closures. So I've scraped together a planning question. It can be 1 to 2 minute answers each. So I thought we could just get some general comments about how you feel about the fast tracking of planning decisions. Generally, Merri-bek does increase the delegation of planning decisions as years go by, reducing neighbour participation. So I guess you need to answer it as a question. Where does the delegation of planning decisions cross the line?
Another big state government change recently is really around the housing crisis to recraft the role of local councils in planning. So local planning are having a substantial amount of their core planning powers really taken away in the idea of fast-tracking planning. In the earlier session we talked a bit about high-density corridors in Lygon and Nicholson Street. And I think for a lot of us we look at the planning mistakes that those have resulted in, but that is with the biggest planning department in Victoria. So now, maybe the planning department will get smaller and some people will get their wish of less rates, but we'll certainly get a lot less hands-on ability to implement those policies and make a lot of the planning work that council has done a lot less important. And certainly stripping away the residents' rights and needs is paramount of cutting that red tape. But that's in direct response to the housing crisis. This is the state government's response to dealing with supply.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at it is that anything that takes power out of the hands of the people who live with the situation, who know the situation and who have the best ideas for how to resolve problems isn't a good thing. And I think certainly housing, the planning housing is an example of where the state government is rushing to cover for the fact that it's failed to invest in public housing for decades. It's failed to do all the things that it needed to actually put forward a proper plan to resolve the housing crisis. And so now it's just, it's going to run roughshod over ordinary people's lives. I think another example is, getting rid of Brunswick Station will be, I think, a terrible thing, where, the cost cutting that motivates the government rather than looking at what's actually the most workable, accessible plan for a community is what is the kind of driving factor. And, I think we'll need to actually challenge that. And I think, rather than just having policies that challenge it or making submissions that are quiet about it, there needs to actually be community campaigns that engage people and bring them into politics to stand against it, because that can be a deterrent to state government, even when they legally have the power to do those things under new planning laws.
Yeah, in regards to, I guess, the decision-making process for planning, I guess it's worth noting that, when things go wrong, like, I don't know how many people are here for the previous talk, but, a response to the public housing was that, we don't want ghettos or slums sort of thing. And I guess it is a shame that, when people talk public housing, that, I guess, in the English-speaking world, there's such a good track record of government messing it up. Versus, in Singapore, for instance, I think it's 90% of people live in public housing, and so it's a shame that there's not more of a global appreciation amongst, I guess, people who have a lot of say in Australia. And as well, it's not just other people's houses, developments, but even on your own, on other, I guess, anywhere. If you build an ugly environment, then there have been studies showing that a stressful environment lowers your IQ. We could have a state government here so under the pump to fix the housing crisis that they end up lowering the IQ of everybody who lives in the city. And but on something worth mentioning though is that for the state government to take over, the people are giving them this power, and there is definitely a perception, a legitimate perception, that governments love getting in the way. And when they ask local residents, for instance, do you like this housing project? Do you like this removal of parking? I've got one of these surveys myself, and it only goes to the people who actually park in that spot. And so, of course, they're going to say, no, I want this parking to stay. And so all these incentives encouraging NIMBYism, I mean, no wonder the state government is taking it out of the council's hands. If the council was being more of a responsible citizen in this country, we could get our way of preserving Brunswick's heritage, preserving the things we like, while still allowing more development. Because keep in mind as well, if more it's mandated by the federal government. More people are moving here. If we let more of those people live in Brunswick, we'll have more political power to get, new trains, new infrastructure. So it can be good for us.
This is a really good question because there's no answer. Places all around the world, cities all around the world, councils in New South Wales are getting their planning powers taken away from them because they're not looking at the broader implications of what restricting housing development means for places across New South Wales. Entire cities in the United States are getting taken over by state planning for residential zoning, and essentially this is a democracy, and local issues are the purview, the expertise of what people in the community know and will be impacted by. But broadly, our interests are usually just to ourselves, and sometimes that goes to a point where it hurts other people without realizing it. I do think, after talking to hundreds of people in Brunswick, that Brunswick is not a NIMBY place. We care about the housing crisis and want to build appropriate developments, and there's the way that we can work with the best ways in the process that we can to deliver the best outcomes without having to come into conflict with all the issues that will lead to state takeaway planning. And it's a case-by-case thing, right? And it's all on a continuum per issue. So I don't have a nice, concise, perfect answer. This is one of those that's just something I've thought a lot about, and it's really a philosophical discussion at some point. Thank you.
Probably a little bit along the lines of Jay here. I mean, this is a huge topic, a huge question, and possibly, the issue that concerns people in a local environment and impacts people in a local environment almost more than anything. I think the council has limits on its abilities and powers, and maybe they're reducing even more. But I think it's a matter of lobbying correctly. Yes, local people can still lobby and can still achieve things. And I think also it's a matter of working, not going head to head, but definitely trying to see how you can strategise, how you can maybe negotiate something ahead of time, maybe, there's a lot of, we can probably all think of an instance in the community, or at least one, or probably many more than one, where there were different people representing different views, and it's a matter of trying to work through that, hopefully find some compromises and some collaborations. Government's not there to just be horrid, but it's always a juggle, isn't it? It's always a juggle of all the interests. So I don't know that I've got a straightforward general answer, because we're talking hypothetically, and really you have to look at a specific issue, a specific instance, and the different pressures and contradictions within it, and then try to make an informed, try to help strategise and work your way through it.
Thanks, Helen. So we'll go out to the audience now, and it would be great if you could say who you are, and specifically if you want your question answered by one or two before the others, but we will try to rotate. But we might try to actually go to the first few questions, get everyone get an answer in. So, all right, we'll go with this gentleman over here.
Okay, thank you. My name's Peter Andrews. I've just got a question for everybody, because I've been noticing this whenever I'm walking along Sydney Road recently, that I'm stumbling over the pavement. What do people think about any plans to actually make the whole area flat, rather than just every time there's any footpath work done, just replacing a section and it's bumpy at the edges? I've seen people go over on strollers.
Okay, so who would like to start with this one? Yep, let's go. Helen, and this one.
I'll go for this one. Look, this one, and I'm sure other people have found this as well, is raised over and over and over again by so many people. I don't know that we are in a situation where we can just repay the entire municipality, but there is a budget, and I wonder if that budget is being honoured each year, and if the requirements for the council to do a certain amount of paving each year are being honoured. So it's my understanding that possibly not, that maybe money sometimes hops over there or hops somewhere else. So I think it's important that we look at the budget and make sure that money allocated to these areas is actually delivered.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, I hear that on the doors a lot too. It's this street sidewalk and this one of the roads, and I haven't brought, my dad actually doesn't live here, but he's in a wheelchair, and I push him around in Los Angeles when I visit and try to take him around to see things. It is an issue that a lot of people struggle with, and it's something that I've personally seen the harm that can cause to our elderly population for sure. Like Helen said, actually, the transparency on the budget for sidewalk maintenance, I'd be really interested to look into that. I know that one thing that when I'm talking in the doors about road maintenance and how Brunswick has a lot of issues with roads, the biggest problem actually is the shape of Merri-bek, in that as you go further north, car dependency increases, and us down here are having the very dense road network where we're paying more rates because it's basically higher land values, and we're subsidizing these massive expansions of roads in the north. And it's kind of that Western Australia GSD problem, right? So I don't know if there's a process where there's equitable funding in terms of requirements and needs, but we're definitely subsidizing more car-dependent areas of Merri-bek, and that is causing us suffering down here.
Yeah, to extend on, first it's worth noting that, I 100% agree with you that, Sydney Road, all the potholes, it's not just, inconvenient, it's incredibly dangerous. I'm a cyclist, Tim, our state MP, he's a cyclist as well, and, Sydney Road is a state road, I guess it's worth pointing out. So, council can't really fix the potholes ourselves on Sydney Road. Although we can influence it. The way that is, the underlying problem here is the car dependence, as Jay pointed out. And so, we see the cars becoming bigger and bigger, the American-style SUVs. They increase the wear and tear on the roads, create more potholes. The reliance on trucks as well means that, our roads are being worn out regularly. Look at Amsterdam. Look at all the bike lanes there. They're not having to fix the potholes every day. If we can move towards being more bike-friendly, more active transport in Brunswick, then, fewer people have cars, fewer potholes, safer cycle lanes. What's not to love?
I agree with that. I think this obviously makes sense. We want better infrastructure for pedestrians, cyclists, while also maintaining the car parking in the roads for those who need it. I don't know enough about council's budget and so forth, but I would have thought that one of the main issues here is that we've got these massive developments in Brunswick, developers making a total killing out of this area, and yet what's being invested back into our infrastructure, I think, is inadequate. And so if there's any way that can be, those profits can be wrangled back from them and invested into not just the road infrastructure, but also back into the services that councils used to be known for and that they provided so well, aged care, childcare, all of these things that need money to function. They do, they all cost a lot of money, but I think that where there's that determination, either finding it within budgets, making developers pay more, given that they're profiting from these areas that they're making money from and then leaving, or from campaigning to state government, that there should be ways of making the whole municipality more livable.
Yes, footpaths and gutters are local government responsibilities. I think last election someone said there was something like a backlog of 15 years worth of work on footpaths. So I hope it's 14 years, 4 years later. I think one thing that needs to be looked at really closely is subcontracting arrangements. Obviously, like so many other council services these days, people get paid for meterage. So you can come along and make sure you've got your quota or a ripped up footpath, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee good quality outcomes. Same thing with tree planting. Arbitrary caps and contractors just means people are going to make their quotas and they've got to make their money, and they don't necessarily relate to the outcomes. So I'd say that with footpaths and gutterings for sure, those contracting arrangements need to be hard to look at.
Hello, Mike. Okay, so I will point out that none of these candidates actually are councillors at the moment, is that correct? So they don't actually get to see the budget, they don't get to work within the structure of council at the moment. So we say, well done for putting your hand up. It basically is a new board, more or less. So let's go out. There was actually a question on this side, I think. We'll go to the back. Glenys? Yep.
My name's Glenys Romanus. I've been a resident of Brunswick for 45 years. I'm a member of a group called Friends of Aileu. And my question goes to the community spirit of Brunswick and Merri-bek. Back in 2000, Janana Guzmao came here and spoke at Coburg Town Hall, and what resulted from that visit was the formation of a friendship partnership with people in East Timor, in the district of Aileu, and that's been supported by the Council of Merri-bek and the Council of Hume and the communities of those two municipalities since then. And we've had an active program of partnership with people in East Timor. So my question is, will you continue as a councillor, if you're elected, to support that program?
I think the beautiful thing about Brunswick is the community, and I think the best thing the local government can do to foster that is to get out of the way at times. I think that, again, I don't know what's that. I think one of the good things council did in the last term was with the Saxon Street property, actually having a council facility that people could use at very cost-effective rates to meet and to assemble. I think during COVID, council also did a lot to ready a lot of spaces, did a lot of overdue backlog of maintenance, so that we, who are involved in the community, can come forward and meet together in a group. And so that is what council can do, provide that really supporting infrastructure to allow the groups to flourish. I'm not that happy with the professionalisation of the arts and festivals arrangements in council. I think it's now almost a professional class of event, and things like the Sydney Road Festival no longer represent the grassroots. So to be a community stallholder at the Sydney Road Festival, that's shut in August when you had to put your expression of interest in. That's not a community festival. That's outside food trucks coming and making money, and people from outside the community, and not even the traders getting involved. So those are the sort of things that we need to
Yes, I would, and hopefully I would support all of the other myriad of amazing, vibrant, progressive things that people do in their daily lives that make them meaningful and that make connections and that make our lives worth living. I think, unfortunately, the council's not that relevant for a lot of people, and I think getting out into community campaigns to actually reach people at that level and bring them in and engage them in that way is probably the way that I would approach it. I've been very active in activism, political activism, for all of my adult life, and I feel like people are passionate about so many different things, but that's switched off time and again because of how alienated society is. And if we can actually connect, we create people who want to actually create communities around them, and that's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, Vanessa, for the question. I guess I'll return to the point about Friends of Aileu and East Timor. Yes, I think that's a good idea to be supportive of East Timor, and hopefully we can learn a lot from them as well. I guess my perspective on these, what do you call them, the sister cities, around the world. There's a fascinating book, my favourite one. It's called Why Nations Fail, and it says that why they fail is because they haven't had enough rebellions, and we need to move towards a society that's more fair and democratic. And so, we see, is there a true democracy in the world right now? We have elections that are heavily influenced in Australia, where even the state media frames it as a two-horse race. And so if we could move towards, for instance, in Taiwan, they had the Gov Zero movement, where civilians could help participate in the websites, the government websites, and these civilian alternatives proved so good that the government actually adopted it themselves. So here it gives us a shimmer of hope. What if we can move towards a society that's more collaborative, more open, more fair? What if we can start it in Brunswick? And this is the sort of thing we can help share with East Timor, with any place around the world. I mentioned, failed states, dictatorships before. I wouldn't put East Timor in that bucket. Anyway, I guess I'll just end there before I dig myself a hole.
I think the short answer is yes. I've been to Timor when I was backpacking on a break from my PhD months, and Indonesia, it's just really lovely people and lovely place, and I support all marginalized groups in whatever situation, because people need representation, they need to feel safe and secure, and we can help. We can be international collaborators. We can do a lot of things for people without sacrifice. It's not like we need to go and do a lot. We can just do as much as we can, and sometimes that goes a long way, longer than you think. So, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a short answer. Okay, so we're going to that side of the room. Okay, yes, over there. Yeah, you.
Hi everyone, my name's Luke. I live on Union Street. So recent exciting news, the level crossing removal project seems like it's back on the table again. That'll be bringing a lot of great opportunities to Brunswick. One of the things I'm scared about though, at the moment we have all these level crossings which actually make it quite inconvenient if you're trying to drive across the city from anywhere out west to anywhere out east. You'll actually go, you know what, I'm going to avoid Brunswick. Bell Street's got a nice level crossing, so I'll take that way, or I'll travel another route. I'm worried that with a level crossing removal project, we're actually going to draw more traffic into Brunswick. There's solutions for this, and I'm really interested to hear what each of you might put on the table as opportunities to help protect Brunswick from rut running and actually bring more transport options to people who live here.
I think the future of Brunswick is the same sort of calming measures that we've seen in the activity centres to the east. I think that's very likely across all of Brunswick, but as we talked about in the previous session, some things at local impact have other knock-on impact. The level crossing removal thing's interesting. I did bring my brochure. I think Wallen Council found out about the state government's plan at the same time that it hit my letterbox, so that's not good. So I think I'd probably say that local councils at a low ebb in terms of its influence over projects like this, and are going to really be asked to react. So if you told me that they were going to prioritise car transport and reduce the number of train stations in Brunswick, I wouldn't have believed you. But there's no backlash to this from the state government. They can't lose. They've got a cheaper solution to implement their policy on the statewide framework, and if we're really, really lucky, local government will pick up the tab for maintaining the parks and maintain other.
I'm not sure which bits of these plans lie with the state government and which lie with the local. I also am not sure what the best practice proposals are for stopping the rat running and what have you. I'd be keen to sit down and properly look at it all, and then to look at how it can be advocated at that high level. I think, there's some real no-brainers when it comes to active transport and so forth, in that, if we make speed limits lower, improve cycle infrastructure and pedestrian infrastructure, there's all these great knock-on effects, even for those who want to drive cars. So I feel like, it's not too difficult where there's a commitment there to actually make a city livable and not just profitable in terms of an efficient commute for people outside the city to the CBD, but actually somewhere where kids can play on the street and not be, in fear of their lives.
Yeah, in terms of the when the upfield line's being upgraded, I guess it's worth pointing out. I don't know if you guys got the same survey, but there's currently a movement to pressure the state government so that along Sydney Road, people want accessible train stops, because at the moment, if you have like a pram or wheelchair, anything, any reason for not just having legs, then it's good getting on the train at the moment. But then I guess where else are they meant to go while that replacement's happening? Although I'm a fan, I guess this is a state issue, so I guess I can only be a fan, not actually doing anything. But then I guess it's also worth noting that yes, the traffic disruption is going to make traffic a lot worse for cars. So I guess now's the best time to make it to move our transport habits towards something that's more scalable. Buses, active transport. Best time possible.
Actually, full disclosure, I actually door-knocked Luke just the other day, and we had a really long chat about all these sort of issues that I'm actually really interested in as a cyclist and someone who takes public transport. How can we make those things better? And I think what I learned a lot from Dr. Luke, but I guess what I've felt and learned previously is that the way that traffic flows changes based on the structure of the streets, and you cannot necessarily put the same ideas of how it previously worked onto a new layout. People will change their behavior drastically. And so when level crossings removal happens, that's going to change the upfield line, how people commute by cycles. You're going to have people having to wait longer for traffic more than they do now, when you get a lot of time actually when the boom gates are down. You're going to have differences in how often people are driving through those areas now too. And so in some places it may not make sense any longer to have a crossing. And in some places those can be turned into parks, those can be more continuous cycleways, and you're not necessarily going to have the kind of issues that you think you might have. You're not going to have traffic build up per se. You're not going to have parking be as much of an issue, because people will adjust their behavior and avoid that area. So with adequate parking studies, with understanding from surveys of what the community uses in those areas, we can get an idea, like an informed decision on what we can do differently for all the ramifications of the level crossing removals.
Thanks. I think, look, I've been an obsessive cyclist my whole life, and there's no question that if for no other reason, we need a decent cycle path. So this is only a good thing, and we're pretty lucky because we can see how it worked up the other end. So, and how fabulous it's been. Yes, there's always going to be a lot of concerns beforehand. The engineers are going to probably get a bigger say than anybody, because you've got to work out what's actually going to work and how it's going to work. It will work. It will have some ramifications. I mean, where we see some of the crossings removed, the railway crossings, the cars are still stopped at the big intersections anyway, another 50 metres up the way. So, but I think overall it's just going to be a very positive thing, and I think there's probably a lot of these things will gradually emerge, but I think overall it's just going to be a really positive thing. There will, of course, there's always impacts, and some of those will be known before and some of them will be known after, but overall it's going to be fabulous.
Thank you. So is there anybody standing at the back who would like to ask a question? No, there's somebody sitting at the back. Okay, ask a question.
Thank you. My name's Jan and I live just off Albion Street. I asked the question to the last candidate, so I'm going to ask the same one, which is, have you got a how to vote card, and if so, who is your second preference?
I'm not doing a how to vote card. It'd be interesting to see how this election shakes down because it's a head-to-head contest. Like I said, it's very likely that all 4 wards in Brunswick will go green and it won't come down to preferences.
I don't have a how to vote card. At state elections, Socialists always preference left to right on a principle basis. I think that'd be a bit hard to choose, sitting amongst these people. Well, but yeah,
I wasn't planning on doing one. I might, although I guess why I'm opposed to having one is, as I was saying before, our elections are very heavily influenced by the media, and we see posters that say "Little Born" and a strong voice for locals. What does that even mean? Like, can't people actually put some ideas, some policies? I think so. I very much support the notion that people should actually research every candidate. Voters should act like a wise jury. Not, oh, who's that?
Actually, I didn't get a chance to very much agree with what Mel said at the beginning about the new ward system. I think that it wastes votes, and that's not representative democracy. And that's something that we have all over the world as a problem. But within the confines of the new system, my heart says Owen, my brain says Louisa, but I don't know how many hearts I have. That's what I'm saying. It's like everybody's really lovely here, and I think that I don't think we would go wrong. Actually, honestly, I think these are great people, and I think that I would like your vote to be, for me as that's why I'm here. But I think we really do have a really good group of people here. Thank you.
Yes, I do have a how to vote. And look, there was a bit of talk before, I think I need to comment on that, just on, you do get support, camaraderie more than anything from being in a group, whether it's a party or whether it's a group of independents. I just want you to know that we're not financially supported. We fund our own campaign. Some of us do fundraising, some of us don't. But I just think it's important to know that. Yes, do have a how to vote card, self-funded. And at the moment, I think we're popping Socialists second online. And I think I've got Owen, I've got you number 3. I'd like to put you all number 2, bit the same. And I haven't quite worked out the rest, but yeah, anyway.
Another question, we've got time for a few more. Yes, orange jumper.
Yeah, sorry.
Do you want to stand up? Or not? You don't have to.
With 80% of our public realm in this ward as streets, with the changing climate and the increasing frequency of heat events as well as flash flooding, which we're seeing, I feel like once a fortnight at the moment in our streets, within your remit as council, what measures do you see to transform streets in the future so they can ensure we're all safe?
It's nice to see the baby steps towards more water-sensitive urban design, like around Town Hall, where, you know, tree returns are recessed, where there's swales on the street, those kinds of things have pooling. I'd like to say that the urban forest strategy is a success, but I think that implementing the tree target has resulted in a lot of waste. And I think we're seeing a lot of trees go in on that thing by contractors. They just drive around with a truck, they just find a hole, whatever tree they've got, just shove it in. So I don't think that is as successful as it should be, but I think those are the kinds of measures that are important and will make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that we need to not just protect green space, but you know, rapidly expand it where we can. I think that answers to the climate emergency though goes so far beyond local politics, and what should happen at a local level is an engagement with and a support of campaigns that actually challenge the way capitalism works more broadly, because I think that's really, that drive to profit is always going to, even where good people at a low level make good decisions about, you know, certain areas, that drive that the system is subject to more broadly is always going to impinge upon that. So I feel like the campaigns that actually challenge the way that the system runs and that conceives of society operating in a totally different way are actually necessary for this huge problem.
Yeah, actually, Louisa, to add to your point about it being a major problem, I guess, yeah, it's for decades we've seen, you know, the major parties federally, they keep big problems down the road, you know, whether that's housing, mental health, climate, and so, you know, some people might not realise the seriousness of the situation we're in now. I mean, the Fusion Party regards treating the climate as an emergency as one of, you know, our top two priorities. And if we look at nearby Yarra Council, for instance, there's been recent controversy because a bunch of residents were told that the stormwater drains around their homes are now insufficient for the higher than previous rainwater projections. And so these houses are now at risk of flooding. And then, of course, these people are upset that their property prices are now falling, now that they're classified as being at a flood risk. Keep in mind, too, in California, many people can no longer get home insurance because there are just too many storms in California. Insurers are no longer interested in that. In a few years, we are going to see mass movements across the streets. People will finally stand up, kick out the major parties who have been kicking these problems down the road. We need to take urgent action. We need to treat it as an emergency, pull out all stops, stop the flooding happening in Brunswick, stop, you know, our homes being flooded thanks to years of inaction and thanks to years of voters not paying attention, voting for this climate crisis we're now in.
So as someone in the field, your question about flooding, but in regards to climate change, the time for doing something about climate change was 10 years ago, and what we have to do now is mitigate. Global communities are already feeling the effects of heat waves and heat stress or heat island effect, and it's too late to stop it. We're still burning coal. The opportunity is gone. So what we need to do locally is mitigation. It's going to be all mitigation in the next 20 years. It's urban design for removing concrete, removing surfaces that maintain heat over time. It's sponges that soak up water, like just outside Brunswick Baths. Finding a way to do that cost effectively over large areas. We already had last month the hottest August on record in Australia, and this is like things that are coming back now that it's warming up again, right? We're thinking about it again more as we come out of winter, and it's going to be a lot of measures that are going to probably cost money, are going to probably be something that people may question, but it's going to save lives. It's going to save the elderly who are walking down the street and have a heat stroke event, and it's going to be new solutions that hopefully are cost effective, whether it's just shade over pathways, whether it's shade over playgrounds, more of that, and finding as much green areas as we can that, you know, plants do the work for us, that we don't have to actively cool.
Great question, and all of the above. Absolutely, I've had quite a few people mention flooding in their streets. In fact, my own street, we're okay because we're on the higher side, but across the road the council's just spent a lot of money putting in some huge drains. But absolutely, we need to look at things that are a lot more innovative than that. You know, areas where water can escape rather than just down concrete roads and concrete drains and wash all the horrid toxins into the waterways. We need to really move on from that now and really think about how we do that and how we, you know, there's plenty of innovations out there and we need to incorporate them into our city and we need to get everybody to embrace them and incorporate them. I still get very disturbed when I see, you know, properties, new developments that don't have proper awnings or shade. I mean, those sort of things just make a huge difference to energy use. So there's some quite simple things that can happen that really could make a huge difference. So I think it's a matter of, look, I think everyone on the council is on side. I don't think we've got any climate deniers out there. And I think our community's on side, and I think it's a matter of just getting a little bit more structured about it and also really embracing the innovations and some of which have been mentioned here.
Thanks, Helen. So in 5 minutes you're going to do your 2-minute wrap-up. That will bring us up to end of the night, which is 1:45, not 10:45, it'll be 9:45. So we've really got time for one quick one, which, Nick, you had a really, so we have yes or no answers, okay? But hey, is there anything really like local to this actual ward and specific that someone had their hand up at the start that I didn't pick up? No? Okay, so I think we'll have to go with Nick's quick question.
The experience we have as a residents network is that it doesn't matter what label you wear, Green, Labor, Independent. Our experience is that councillors constantly get trapped to cut community out of decision making. The structure of, you know, VCAT raising costs, you know, to apply for planning decisions, the way that staff capture councillors of all parties, the way that Labor and Greens have supported fast tracking of planning to cut residents out of the process. What concretely would you do to engage with people and draw them into the process? And please don't say listen to residents, because residents have different opinions. How would you deal with the conflicts of community, and what concretely would you do to involve people?
Oh, thanks, guys. Really looking forward to this question. Look, I think it's a good question. I don't know that I have an instant answer because, again, I think I have to get back to each situation rather than a broad hypothetical. And I think, obviously, you've been observing it for a long time, and these are things that you've observed and are very troubling. Yeah, look, each situation is different. I can think of so many situations, but I haven't got time here to go through them. Yeah, the fast tracking, that's concerning. I think it's about negotiation and strategising and really, and as you say, yeah, well, listening, it's easy to say let's listen, but how are we going to listen? And yeah, I guess the question is how are we going to listen? So earlier on someone was saying, well, if you send out surveys, well, first of all, they cost money, people don't respond, only the people that have an interest respond. So there's a whole lot of issues, there's layers and layers of issues in that question. And I don't know that I can really do it justice because I feel that you'd really need to look at specific situations, but I would hope that there's a certain honesty amongst the councillors and that they're really genuinely looking to be analytical and looking for solutions that are, you're never going to please everybody, but are possibly the best compromise they can find. That's what I'd be hoping for. Yes.
Yeah. So we had being honest, that's great. So everyone can have one really strong thing that you will do in this situation. Thanks.
Sure. you're right, people don't want to be listened to, they want to feel heard. They want to feel, when it's coming to something that affects me, I want to know that it's not just going in one ear and out the other, and that I'm not just checked off the box. That's what I want from my representative. Compromise is hard, but accountability is also critical. And in a teaching environment, if you make a mistake, it's okay, you just have to take responsibility for it. And 9 times out of 10, if you go to a situation and you can actually take accountability, we're all going to be okay together at the end of it, right? We understand that sometimes you make mistakes, you do something that affects somebody else, but you can explain that it's beneficial in this situation, and you just have to own it. You just have to be like a normal person, I hope, and move on from there, and hopefully you have a good relationship.
Thank you. Owning it. Thank you. And now it's on.
Yeah, I think make the premise